is a time when it's necessary to take the gloves off, and that time is right now.
I met with a high-ranking former al-Qaeda operative in Iraq recently.
Terrorist,
unrepentant terrorist,
part of a group that, quote, launched a campaign of bombings that would target the Pentagon and our U.S. Capitol, our United States Capitol.
I met with al-Qaeda. Without precondition.
Terrorist? Someone who sees America as imperfect enough to pal around with terrorists, targeted his own country.
Who is the real
John McCain?
Did you hear the one today about al-Qaeda endorsing John McCain for president?
Although al-Qaeda's ability to affect the outcome of a U.S. presidential election may have changed, al-Qaeda's rationale on the kind of American president it wants has not. A bellicose American president, according to this rationale, would be better for the recruitment of jihadists and more likely to achieve al-Qaeda's goal of draining American resources, economic and otherwise. In our third story in the countdown, an al-Qaeda-connected website now showing support for a McCain presidency, according to the Washington Post, on the extremist website Al-Hezbollah. In a commentary posted on Monday, quoting, "This requires the presence of an impetuous American leader such as McCain, who pledged to continue the Iraq war till the last American soldier. Then al-Qaeda will have to support McCain in the coming elections so that he continues the failing march of his predecessor, Bush." Let's turn now to the distinguished counterterrorism advisor to presidents of both parties, also the author, of course, of Your Government Failed You, Richard Clarke. Thank you for your time tonight, sir.
Always good to be with you, Keith.
Before we get to al-Qaeda and the election and that relationship, any real doubt about the central premise here that the war in Iraq has been good for al-Qaeda recruitment?
No, I think terrorism analysts outside of government, inside the CIA, terrorism analysts in European governments, there's a great consensus that the U.S. occupation of Iraq is the best thing that ever happened to al-Qaeda in terms of recruitment and fundraising. Well, from al-Qaeda's perspective, It would be best if the United States stayed in Iraq for a long time, as well as in Afghanistan, with large numbers of troops and large bills to be paid by the American taxpayer.
Are staying in Iraq for 50 years.
maybe 100?
Al-Qaeda sympathizers get into the American political game, issuing threatening web postings and blogs, even hinting at who they might like to take on as president, John McCain. On a website that experts call a conduit for al-Qaeda's agenda, a man considered a supporter of the terrorist group says al-Qaeda will have to support McCain in the election, quote, so that he continues the failing march of his predecessor, Bush.
Where are we in terms of al-Qaeda and our relationship to it at this moment? Can you give us a minute summary of where we stand?
That it's been able to reconstitute itself in Pakistan and is participating with the Taliban in killing American troops in Afghanistan, but is also training European-looking people to go perhaps to Europe or perhaps to the United States to conduct attacks. They don't look Arab, they may have European passports. That's a source of real concern among non-partisan analysts I know in CIA.
I met with a high-ranking former al-Qaeda operative in Iraq recently.